Listen closely, because this is the story people will be replaying and arguing about for years. A global superstar who once ran the charts like clockwork, now stumbling through viral nights out, questionable fashion choices, and a tour that seems allergic to magic. While streamers and real MCs eat his lunch on the culture front, how do you go from the center of hip-hop to the main character in a never-ending meme? Tonight, we follow the breadcrumbs. Every clip, every post, every misstep, to understand why the internet keeps calling Drake's latest era a crash-out in slow motion, and why even non-rappers now feel bold enough to throw darts at his crown. If you care about the truth behind the headlines, hit that subscribe on Scandal News right now. You're going to want the receipts as this saga keeps evolving. It starts with a look, not a lyric, not a leak, a look. A fitted, pristine, custom Chanel interpretation of Oktoberfest attire. Picture the world's most watched rapper stepping into Munich like a catwalk Viking, not blending into a centuries-old festival, but refracting it through celebrity glass. He isn't merely attending, he's presenting. Cameras rise, captions sharpen, the outfit lands on timelines like a neon sign flashing, "I'm still that guy." But the echo that bounces back isn't applause, it's laughter, edits, meme templates, reaction clips stitched and doubled and spun into a week's worth of comedy. The punchline isn't just the costume, it's the timing. The rapper who once defined cool is now apparently playing dress up at a time when the culture expects him to stand up. Because context is everything. When fans see the Chanel lederhosen moment, they aren't just seeing a fit, they're seeing the aftermath of a bruising year. A feud with Kendrick Lamar that reshaped the competitive map. Accusations that the live shows feel stale or forced. Questions about whether the music is moving the heart of the culture or just orbiting it. They're seeing a feed that looks less like the office of a rap general and more like a content creator's mood board. The disconnect is the story. And that disconnect is why the jokes land. As the night rolls on, more clips trickle in. The entourage is posted up. There's a stiffness to how they move, like club energy smuggled into a beer hall. Smiles, phones, that performative "we're having fun" aura that only celebrities can pull off when they're working while pretending to unwind. And the longer the content goes, the clearer the subtext becomes. This isn't a casual night. This is messaging. It's proof of life for a persona that's still trying to convince the timeline he's unbothered. But if you listen carefully, there's a different soundtrack playing underneath the beat. It's the chorus of the internet reacting in real time, the memes comparing the look to cartoon characters, the "do the roar" jokes from Shrek lore, the edits that flip a party clip into a punchline. It's cruel, it's viral, and it's relentless. And what stings isn't just the cruelty, it's the ease. The culture isn't straining to make Drake look ridiculous. It's as if he's handing them the paint. Meanwhile, something else is happening far from the beer tents and the branded fits. On a stream, a camera, a microphone, Kai Cenat, yes, the same streamer Drake once publicly side-eyed for how he reacted to the Iceman rollout, is hosting freestyles. Real ones. Not glossy big-budget singles, not world tours, raw bars. Hungry voices. Vaughn from TDE swinging through to showcase the kind of pen the culture still respects. And at some point, Kai picks up the mic himself. The flow is whatever. The bar is the point. A Degrassi jab aimed squarely at the man who used to own timelines on a Tuesday. It's not a career-ending diss. It's a litmus test. If a streamer of all people feels comfortable firing a joke at your biography, what does that say about how bulletproof your brand really is? This is where pride collides with perception. Drake's reputation isn't just about hits, it's about control. The idea that he controlled the narrative, controlled the jokes, controlled who got attention and when. And yet here we are in a world where an off-the-cuff jab from a streamer, surrounded by actual lyricists, can trend harder than a carefully planned single. That's not a glitch, that's a market correction. Now, to understand how we got here, rewind just a bit. The Kendrick feud wasn't a war of one song, it was an X-ray. The difference is in approach, surgical, layered, coded haymakers versus slick, defensive counters. left lingering doubts about where the edge truly lived. Then come months of touring chatter, whispers that the rooms felt flat, that the magic didn't always scale, that big budgets and bigger screens can't simulate that electric sense of risk. None of this destroys a superstar, but it erodes invincibility. And once invincibility is gone, every new move gets scanned for weakness. Enter the bonnet, a certified loverboy satin cap worn proudly on social. On paper, there's nothing scandalous about a grown man protecting his hair. In practice, in this moment, with this audience, it becomes symbolic, a prop in the courtroom of public opinion. Fans who wanted bars and blood smell moisturizer. Critics argue it's thirsty. Supporters say it's harmless. But the optics are the point. It reads as content, not conviction. The timeline has been conditioned to treat authenticity like currency, and this looks like coupons. What's happening is bigger than wardrobe choices. It's the influencer pivot, the just having fun posture that artists adopt when the art isn't arm wrestling the conversation anymore. Don't mistake it. The streams still rack up, the charts still not, but the culture doesn't crown you for numbers. It crowns you for temperature. It crowns you for tension. It crowns you when your presence forces other giants to move. And the uncomfortable truth tonight is this. Lately, it's the streamers and the rivals forcing the moves, while Drake is busy forcing the vibes. You can see the strategy if you squint. Align with creators who command younger audiences. Appear on their streams. Cross-pollinate. Be the fun uncle who gets the jokes. But slick content can't patch a lyrical vacuum. The fans who grew up on dueling raps don't want skits, they want smoke. And when the closest thing to smoke is a costume at a European festival, the block laughs loudly. Let's talk about the tour. You've seen the clips. Boos whispered about, suspicious crowd shots, the sense that certain stops felt more like contractual obligations than coronations. Maybe it's fatigue, maybe it's overexposure. Maybe it's just the law of averages catching up to a decade-long run. But if you're the artist and you know the internet is sniffing for weakness, every lukewarm arena becomes an open mic for your doubters. And what do doubters do? They remix. Worst tour of all time becomes a catchphrase, not a statistic. It becomes a cudgel they swing every time a clip misfires. Which brings us back to Kai. Why does his jab matter? Because he's not supposed to be here. In the old map, a streamer doesn't get to be a node in rap politics, let alone a threat. But he flipped the rules by turning his platform into a rotating showcase of MCs, some from major camps, some from the trenches, reminding the audience what raw skill sounds like when it's not wrapped in brand strategy. He doesn't have to out-rap Drake. He just has to demonstrate a different kind of power, the power to shape taste in real time. That makes his jokes land like hooks. And when the culture senses you're ducking the heavyweights, naming the Pusha T's and the Kendrick Lamars of the world without stepping back into the ring, everything else you do is judged in that light. A fit becomes a feint. A club becomes a cover, a smile becomes a shield. You can say you're moving on, the audience says you're moving sideways. Meanwhile, there's a phantom in the room, the song that doesn't move the discourse. You drop, it trends, it streams, but the loudest thing that week is still the costume. That is devastating if you came up in an era where singles weren't just content, they were commandments. If your meme beats your music in a 7-day cycle, the brand starts eating the artist. So where does this go? There are two roads. The first road is the full influencer embrace. Book the biggest streams, turn every city into a set, double down on self-aware comedy, lean into the internet's nicknames, and become the untouchable villain everyone loves to roast. Except that the music is seasoning, not the main dish. If you take that road, you'll keep the spotlight, but you trade fear for familiarity. The culture won't tremble when you post, it'll smirk. The second road is the one nobody expects right now. Silence. Disappear from the feed, cancel the costumes, find a room with producers who aren't paid to flatter you. Phone number 1. Record like you're broke and hungry. Pick a pocket that isn't algorithm friendly. Stop aiming at charts, aim at jugulars. Then drop something so undeniable that even your fiercest enemies have to argue in good faith. This is the hardest road because it risks time, ego, and comfort. But if you want to rewrite the headline from clown to champion, you don't do it with captions. You do it with a verse that ruins somebody's week. Here's the part that stings. The culture still wants Drake to win on the mic. That's why the jokes hurt. If nobody cared, nobody would meme. The noise is proof of an investment the audience hasn't fully cashed out of. But that window closes a little more every time a week goes by where the biggest Drake story is what he wore, who he smiled with, or which streamer he tolerated. At some point, you either remind people why you were feared, or you become the mascot they escort through the festival, a walking photo op in a very expensive costume. Now, let's talk about the psychology behind the spiral. Public embarrassment doesn't just bruise a star, it rewires them. The instinct is to post through it, to control the narrative with an avalanche of content that screams, "See, I'm fine." But the internet is immune to fine. It's allergic to fine. It only smells blood or fire. And if you can't give it fire, it will invent blood. That's why quiet is powerful. Quiet deprives the mob of oxygen. Quiet lets the music speak when it finally arrives. But quiet requires discipline. And discipline is hard when your phone is a casino. There's also the crew dynamic. Watch any clip closely and you'll see it. Phones out, angles rehearsed. The choreography of "this will look great on stories." That's not evil, it's modern. But modernity has a price. If every moment is content, no moment is sacred. And audiences can feel the difference between a life being lived and a life being live-streamed. In hip-hop, sacred still matters. Sacred is the studio at 3 a.m., the verse you write because you're furious, the silence that makes the first bar feel like a gunshot. Sacred is the thing that turns a meme back into a milestone. Critics will say, let him enjoy himself. Not every night needs to be war. True. But the crown doesn't come with weekends. When you're the face, your off days become your brand days, and your brand days become the weapon your rivals use. That's the cost of the throne. You don't get to be casual in public unless the music is so undeniable that it buys you the right to be ridiculous. At the height of a dynasty, a goofy outfit is charming. In a shaky season, it's chum in the water. This brings us to the subtext nobody names out loud: aging in public. Hip-hop loves youth, but respects mastery. The magic trick is to age into a general, not into a gimmick. That means growing sharper as the room gets colder. That means choosing enemies wisely and finishing fights when you start them. That means letting the kids have the streams and taking the respect. You don't have to out-dance TikTok. You have to outright your peers. And that's the pivot everyone is waiting to see. What about the allegation that the shows are boring? Boring is solvable. It's pacing, set lists, transitions, risk. It's tearing down the protective glass and inviting chaos back into the set. Bring out a rival, not a safe friend. Bring out a problem. Flip an old record into a new threat. Put a verse on the Jumbotron that you wrote at soundcheck and see what the arena does. If you want contagion, inject uncertainty. People don't share perfection. They share moments that could go left. And the streamer problem? Don't fight the platforms. Beat them at their own game. Show up unannounced. Don't flirt with the host. Outbar the room. Drop an a cappella that makes the chat go silent for 3 seconds. That's a lifetime on the internet. Then leave. No selfies, no wink. Let the clip do what your last 8 posts couldn't. That's how you take back cultural oxygen, by making people forget they were supposed to laugh. Let's be clear. None of this analysis denies the catalogue, the hits, the impact. That part of Drake's legacy is locked. What's unlocked and wobbling is today. Today is where the jokes live. Today is where the fans judge whether you're still the protagonist or just the plot device they move around for laughs. Today is where a streamer's jab can shake you more than a chart entry can save you. That's unprecedented. And that's the scandal. Because if we strip away the memes, we get to the uncomfortable center. A superstar who feels understudied in the role they wrote. A king who forgot the rituals of kingship. Rituals like silence, surprise, severity. You can't community manage your way back to terror. You have to write your way back. You have to perform your way back. You have to scare the room again. So, the cold, uncomfortable truths the PR teams won't admit. Make sure you're subscribed to Scandal News. We'll be here when the next chapter drops, receipts ready, ears open, and no costumes required. Hit subscribe to Scandal News right now. Drop a comment with your take. Is this just a messy phase, or has the culture truly moved on? And if you think it's a comeback waiting to happen, tell us what you need to hear on that first record back. Your move. October's very own. The crowd is quiet. The mic is live.